Hey everybody, JP Alexander here for the Rubber Dogs Unleashed. It is Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. And I want to talk about a couple of things when it comes to Bill Burr. Great, one of my favorite uh, stand-up comics of the last 25 years at least. He's been around probably like 30 years, I'd say. He's around my age. I'm 56. I think he's 53. No, 54? Around that. So around my age group. Hysterical. Always loved him. Not only do I love his stand-up, he reminds me a lot of me when I was younger, like how he grew up. Well, I didn't have as big a household. Like I didn't have as many brothers and sisters as him. But he was in a, and his father was probably more abusive than mine, but still the same kind of time, the 70s. We grew up in a suburb of a major city. Him, Boston, I guess. Me, New York. And it was just playing on bicycles, rampant. It's like, well, when I see his show Efforts for Family, that reminds me a lot about growing up. It was kind of like that. You were tough. You grew up tough. All your friends and your parents are like, go out, have fun. And you do whatever. So you were raised a different way than, let's say, the newer generation is. More helicopter parenting now, and that has to go. That has to go with what I'm saying today about him. I've seen some interviews with him recently. He does some podcasts. He's trying to promote his special. This was about Paper Tiger, which I think was a couple of years ago. So I don't know when these podcasts were, but I just only recently saw them in the last few weeks. It was with this guy Ethan Klein, who I see his podcast once in a while. I'm trying to like him, but he comes across like a bit of a douchebag, like a bit of a fucking asshole. I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe he's the greatest guy in the world. I don't know. But him and his wife, he comes across like just smug, elitist asshole. That's how he comes across to me. I'm not sure if he is. He might be the greatest guy in the world. If I met him, I'd be open to, hey, talking to him, and maybe I'll get along great. But that's how he comes across in some of these videos, He's married to a woman who's way too hot for his ass. I don't know how that happened, But anyway, it's an podcast with him, and he's interviewing Bill Burr. And then the other one is Theo Von, who I kind of like Theo Von. He seems like a really nice guy. He's from the South, I guess, and he came from a broken household. And he seems like he had a tough life. But him I actually like a little better than Ethan Klein. But again, I might meet them both and think Ethan Klein was a great guy. I'm just saying how they come across to me on the podcast. So they both interviewed Bill Burr. And the problem with the interviews with Bill Burr is generational. And a lot of people have been making podcasts about how they interpret the interview. And a lot of people blame Bill Burr for the interview. And it's like, I don't think Bill Burr's to blame. Like, if you see Bill Burr on interviews with Joe Rogan's in his age group, our age group, And when you see them, they go back and forth. They're better friends than, Bill, I guess, I just met these two when he did their podcast. And he's been friends with Joe Rogan for years now. So you could tell that they're good friends. But it's not even just that. Just the way they kind of bump off each other and how they use each other's energy. And it's just a different vibe when they're speaking to each other. And it flows. They could do an hour and a half talk between them in an interview or what have you, and it's just enjoyable. You just don't feel at all, the time just flies by. You don't feel it's an hour and a half at all. Well, like the interview with Ethan and it's a different interview with Ethan Klein than it is with Theo Von. They're two different, Theo Von, Ethan Klein seemed, okay, for instance, let me explain a little bit of, the first interview I saw was Ethan Klein. So Ethan Klein's hanging out, interviewing, him and his wife interviewing Bill Burr. But he interviews and his wife is just sitting there being pretty. That's what I see a lot of that is. So anyway, he's interviewing Bill Burr, and he asked Bill Burr how many brothers Bill has. And I've never heard Bill talk about his maybe one brother, but never goes into how many brothers he's got. I think he's got 5, something like that. Like I've read, you know, in his bio, but he probably doesn't want to go out and talk about it, in front of everybody. So he just says, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want to, tell you. It feels funny telling you how many, brothers I got because there's people there's nuts out there." What he's saying is that there's crazy people out there, and he doesn't want his brothers to be mentioned because somebody might go, "Oh, I know that guy. That's his brother," and just start fucking with him and just say, "Hey, your brother Bill, I don't like, and you got a lot of shit." Who knows? But he just doesn't want to tell the audience how many brothers he's got, and he says, "I'll tell you off air, like I'll tell you later on somewhere." And then Ethan takes that personally, like he gets upset. He's like, "Oh, tell me." And then Bill Burr says, "I can't believe you're shocked." Like, it's like, and to me, a Joe Rogan would have blown that off. A Joe Rogan, or even me, for instance, would have said something like, "Well, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of fucking, yeah. I mean, let me tell you, dude, you are right. There's a lot of crazy people out there." And then the conversation would go on. Like, you change the subject because you wouldn't think anything about it. It would be, like, just blow it off. Like, it wouldn't mean anything, But Ethan didn't take it. He took it personally, which is not personal. Dude, it's not personal. He just said, but you got to learn to roll with it. Like, and that's the generational thing, I think. That's why somebody like Joe Rogan, it wouldn't even faze him. He'd just be like, "Yeah, there are a lot of crazy people out there," and then it would just keep going. Like, that wouldn't even register as anything to talk about. But in this interview, it came across as freaking awkward, like really awkward. Like, and you're watching it, like, this interview's not going good, and it just makes for a bad interview. Like, it's painful. It's painful how they just don't. I mean, Bill's doing his Bill thing, which Bill does, and just Ethan is just not getting it. He's not going with it, and I'm not saying he has to get it, but it's probably a generational thing. It's like you go back to Bill Burr in interviews. Like I listened to Bill Burr on Opie and Anthony when he was on Opie and Anthony. Opie and Anthony is shock jocks from Long Island, and they're again in my age group around our age, and they're all it's like it just Bill Burr's on the show for 2 hours, 3 hours, and just going on, and Patrice O'Neal's another guy in the same age group. He's going on, and it's just Jim Norton, the same age group, and it's just, it flows. Everything flows, and they're all busting balls, and it's all going, and it's all great. But the problem with the Ethan Klein interview was that he's taking things personally. Like, he gets all, I mean, talk about not knowing how to interview somebody. It's just, it just was like, dude, you are out of your element, and it just looks almost sad that he just doesn't know where to go with that, and he looks almost afraid, like he's been cornered or something. He's like, "Oh, it's like, what kind of interviewer are you? Let me interview." I know, damn, I'm not a great interviewer. I probably don't think I am. I don't never interviewed anybody, but I'll give it a shot. I think me and Bill Burr would have a lot more to talk about in an hour and a half than Ethan Klein did. Jesus Christ, I mean. It's like people are talking about how awkward the interview is when it shouldn't be. You see me saying on very rarely you hear something about a David Letterman, even though how many millions of people he's interviewed, how many go really uncomfortable, But this is uncomfortable, and it's Ethan's fault, I think. You got to understand Bill, not just understand Bill, understand that generation, understand that kind of person. How he was raised, I guess. I don't know, but it's almost like I can relate to that because you don't let little stupid shit bother you, And going into the second set of interviews with Theo Von was a little, he was a little nicer. He didn't take it as much offense as Ethan Klein did, but his was still like completely awkward also. He was talking to Bill Burr about Paper Tiger, the Netflix special, and it was filmed at the Royal Albert Hall, which I would have said, Queen played there, their farewell concert 1968. People screaming, "God save the Queen." Royal Albert Hall, it's a legendary hall in London, and that's what I would have went with, But Ethan, obviously didn't know anything about that. So Ethan just says, yeah, it's an old venue like no, no, what's his name? Napoleon. And he just mentioned some other things, maybe Winston Churchill. I don't know. But he's pulling things out of his ass. Like he doesn't know. He's just, oh, it's an old, And Bill laughed and said, I love how you just pull things out of you. I love how you just bringing things up. Well, like he's suggesting that you're just bringing up everything old because, it's, and he's like, and then again, he took offense to it. Like, I would have been like, yeah, you're right. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just blowing out. Yeah, anything old. I mean, I think Genghis Khan did a special there back in 800 BC. Like you're making up anything. Draw something. But it is pretty ridiculous. I don't know why Theo Von didn't just laugh with it because Theo Von's mentioning a French general from early 1700s, and this is a venue in London that was built maybe 1890. You're fucking way off, dude. I mean, you just, it's like just bring up Joan of Arc or something. I mean, you're reaching. And he was, but he just almost took it like an attack, like, like his face looked like he was shocked that you gotta laugh. I would be laughing my ass off. I'd be like, you're absolutely right. What the fuck? You can get, bring up anybody. It's just ridiculous, the whole thing. And he actually took, he looked like he took offense to it. Like he didn't know what to say. And then they're talking about helicopters. And because Bill Burr's in the helicopters, he took some helicopter lessons. And he flies helicopters now. So Theo Von, I guess, was in a helicopter when he did some military thing for the troops or something. And he goes, yeah, I was in a helicopter. And but it was a helicopter with a bunch of guns. And Bill was like, oh yeah, okay, you've been in a helicopter, and then Theo Von says to Bill, do you carry weapons in the helicopter? It's like, and Bill's like taken aback, like it is a pretty fucking ridiculous. Do you have a gun in the helicopter? Yeah, I have a gun in here just in case somebody tries to helicopter jack me while I'm flying. Some guy just decides to take over the helicopter while I'm in it and draw me out, and just, so I need a gun to protect myself. Like, why would you think he had a gun in a regular helicopter? Why would you? That would be the last. You would not want to. Why would you want a gun in a helicopter? So I take it out and I just accidentally shoot a hole in the, through the rudder or something, or through the blade and go down. Like, why would you? It's just like, why would you have a gun in the helicopter? Anyway, it was, I mean, I know he's reaching for something to talk about. And Bill's like, I don't know how to answer that stupid question. Like, and again, you got to go with it. You got to say, yeah, I had a brain fart. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. A gun in the helicopter. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm thinking about it now. It's pretty fucking dumb. I'm sorry I said that. I'm reaching for things to talk about. I don't know really. That's what you should say. I would have said something like that, but Theo Von's like, again, taken aback, like, and then Bill Burr mentions a Mary Tyler Moore show with Lou Grant, and Lou Grant was smoking a big cigar in his office or something. I don't know, something that happened, and he was mentioning it, and Theo Von has no idea what he's talking about. He has no idea the reference, and he's like, and then Bill Burr goes, Mary Tyler Moore, and Theo Von goes, I think she just died recently. At that point, you've lost her. It's like, okay, it's done. It's yeah, I guess she just died recently. So did Ed Asner. Well, she died a few years ago, so this must have been from a few years ago. But anyway, my point is, he just didn't know the reference. And then some guy's talking about it, and he's blaming Bill Burr, and he's saying, well, because Mary Tyler Moore was, from the 50s. What are you an asshole? It's not from the 50s. It was from 1970 till 77. It was one of the funniest shows on the air at that point. Great episodes. Probably every feminist who says she's a feminist should have seen that show. That is the first woman empowerment show, I think, ever. It was a single woman, about 30, late 20s, probably, just going on her own. Well, probably 30s. Going on her own, doesn't need a man, has a good job, has a good place to live, has friends who are the same way, single women who don't need who they don't need a man. They got a good place to live, a good job. This is really the first women empowerment, I think, show. And this guy thinks it's from the 50s. Dude, and it's like, oh, it's before my time. Yeah, but you still should know the classics. I mean, I was born long after the Honeymooners was on the air, but I watched it in reruns, and I know the Honeymooners. I know Father Knows Best, and I don't think I've ever seen that show. But at least I know the premise of it. These guys are like, I mean, how could you call yourself comics when you don't even know the classics? The people who bought the, I mean, I just don't understand how you could call yourself stand-up comedians when you have no. It's like you could be funny. It's like I was doing stand-up when I was in Iceland. I did some stand-up, and the people, some of them were funny, but backstage, they weren't that funny. It was like they're writing funny, and they're sitting there writing funny, but they just can't. It's me. I went up there. I never wrote anything down. I just did something on the fly at a moment. I just came up and did a spur of a moment. And these podcasts I'm doing here, these videos, whatever. Everything I do, I don't have anything written down. I just know the topic I want to talk about, and I go. That's it. It's unscripted on everything, just me rambling. Now, I'm not saying by any stretch of imagination that I'm funny. I'm not saying by any stretch of imagination that I'm really intelligent. I'm fucking not. I know I'm a fucking moron. If you can't do what I do, then I don't know. Maybe I'm better than you, and I shouldn't be, because I'm not that good. I'm really not. If you're worse than me when it comes to being funny, again, I don't think I'm that funny. I could be funny. I've done some stand-up that got some laughs, but I'm not Bill Burr funny. I'm not Louis C.K. funny, but I'm probably maybe Ethan Klein funny and Theo Von funny. At least, no, I know if I interviewed Bill Burr, I'd be a lot funnier than they are. They're like, Bill Burr is uncomfortable, and he's sitting there like he did something wrong, like he beat him up in the playground. Like, these guys are actually physically upset. And to me, I'm offended that these guys have podcasts. You can't interview with somebody. Look at Joe. Can you see Joe Rogan doing it? Can you see Joe Rogan being like, oh, can you see Joe Rogan like that? Fucking hell no. Hell no. Joe Rogan wouldn't be like that. I'm not saying because Joe Rogan's an MMA fighter, because he's just, he rolls with it. He knows how to, there's a couple ways you could have responded to that, okay? You respond the way they responded, which is, like you're being attacked, you don't know what to say, you're afraid, you look like you're scared, okay? That's one way you could take it, which is probably the worst way you could take it, especially for us viewers. That looks really pathetic. Two, you could take it like you could just ignore it and be like, Mary Tyler Moore, whatever. Which is slightly better, but it's still not that great. You're still kind of bowing down, and looking kind of passive. Another way is just the way I would do it is just you go with it. You just kind of like say, yeah, what the hell? I mean, what the hell? I'm reaching. Again, the Genghis Khan. You bring up Genghis Khan, and I think Genghis Khan had a Netflix special, like you just joke around with it because it's just, you realize you fucked up. You realize you did something that was funny that deserves to be commented on. I mean, come on, Theo. It's like, your team's down by 1 point. There's a second left, and the fucking ball comes off the rim, and you're already up. What are you gonna do? You're gonna take it. You're gonna dunk it. That's what you're gonna do. It's a fucking layup. It's a dunk. It's and you're throwing it up there for Bill Burr, a legendary comic who waits for those opportunities, who loves those opportunities, who sees those opportunities, and he pounces on it like a fucking tiger. Is what you gotta do when you're a comic. You gotta do that, and you gotta expect him to do that. I would expect him to do that if I said something as stupid as, especially something as stupid as, you carry a gun in your helicopter. Dude, what? Are you seriously just asking me that question? Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking. That's what you just go with it. And it's just that would make funny. That would make funny interview. That would be funny. I'd be watching. I'd be like, this Theo Von guy's pretty cool. Even though I think he actually is pretty cool. He's a cool guy. But I would just kind of roll with it. But no, he didn't. And the other way is to get fucking pissed at him and say, hey, fuck you. Draw back at him. Draw something back at him. Oh, yeah, how about you? It's like you're so much better. And have something witty to say. Just think on your feet. And Bill Burr would probably say, yeah, you're right. He probably roll with it because he knows how to roll with it. You could draw back at Bill Burr and he'll be like, yeah, you have a point. Yeah, I guess that's right. Yeah, okay. Like, he doesn't look like he get mad at you. He look like he'll be like, yeah, well, whatever. Wrong with it. Like, you don't let your blood pressure get too high on this. You just kind of, it's just an interview. It's just two guys talking, So that's my comment on these things. These guys are just, it's generational. Like I said, Joe Rogan, Opie and Anthony, Jim Norton, Patrice O'Neill, Conan O'Brien. I mean, this is just different generational people who don't take it personally. Ethan Klein, he seemed to take it more personally than, he goes, oh, you don't tell me. He looked, it's just his face. The look he has on his face is like, dude, are you seriously shocked that I don't want to tell you how many brothers I have? Dude, what the fuck? You want a Band-Aid for that? Jesus Christ, I mean, how can you expect to have podcasts talking with comics who are quick on their feet, who are always looking for a joke, and you get like, tell me. I couldn't believe it, and I still can't believe it, and I can't believe anybody blaming Bill Burr for that. Bill Burr was he's not to blame at all for any of that. He actually felt bad. He actually was almost apologizing to Ethan that he feels Ethan was like, and he's got to almost draw Ethan a life preserver. I mean, that's sad when the guy's being interviewed. He's got to feel like he's got to help you from drowning. It's that's and make fun of me all you want. Put comments in there and say, so you know what you're talking about. Fine. But I just watch interviews with Bill Burr and Joe Rogan. We'll go into old episodes of Opie and Anthony with Bill Burr. You don't hear shit like that, man. You just hear laughing and people getting along and people talking the shit with each other. And you see, I want to have interviews with Joe Rogan and everything goes great. On these things, it's just like cringeworthy. Like, make it stop. And that's all I gotta say about that. Guys, come on. You could do a better job. Again, Ethan might be the greatest guy in the world, and Theo Von, I like you, dude, and some of your stories are fucking hilarious. They really are, man. When you talk about the black arts, man, I'm cracking up. I think a lot of shit's hysterical, and I think you got a good future ahead of you. But you guys just got to learn to interview better, man. You really got to learn to let things roll. So an hour and a half flies by like that, and you got some great material. And yeah, your comics. Think of that first. And so is Bill Burr. So think about that and entertaining the audience and having us laugh, not cringe. And with that, that's what I got to say about that. This has been JP Alexander for the Rapid Dogs Unleashed. Until next time, ciao.